So who do I ask the first question to? Let's start with Nicole. Yeah, so the first question goes to you. Let me start by saying that your song, Redeemer, is truly an anthem. I mean, that song, every single time I listen, I worship with it, something happens. It's amazing that one song can work wonders and miracles on a continuous basis for years and years and years. That song is like 20 years old. It's been
25.
a long time. Woo! That's amazing. That's amazing. We give God all the praise. Now, you have walked through the very painful experience of abuse and divorce. Now, how did you personally experience that redemption that you sing about? Not just in the spiritual sense, but in the context of healing your heart, in the very practical sense, and redefining your identity as a woman, even after your marriage had ended.
First of all, I want to say thank you so very much, Pastor Toun, for having me. So I honor you, I respect you, and yes, give it up for real, yes. Beautiful inside and out. She had to give me the hard question. I have gone through some night seasons of life, and I love to tell the truth because God also said he was looking for those who would worship him in spirit and in truth. And so if I bring fakery to God, then I can only expect a fake result. So I need to be true and honest about what I've gone through, where I'm at, what has disappointed me, what has hurt me, knowing that Christ is big enough. He's strong enough. His blood is powerful enough to cover, heal, and redeem. And so when I was in the midst of one of my night seasons, I have been, as you said, I've been abused. I know what it's like to be in a domestic violence situation. I know what it's like to feel as if, Lord, I've made a wrong decision, even though my decision wasn't the decision to abuse. And I know how it feels in the midst of it, wondering, especially if you've come out of a faith culture, if God has canceled his assignment for you. But he has taught me that my choices are not stronger than his blood. And there are certain promises that he's made that are conditional, and there are other things that are steadfast and true, and they have nothing to do with us. And so anyway, in the midst of my night season, I remember I've gone through, like I said, abuse, betrayal, abandonment. I've experienced it for you, so you ain't got to go through it, okay? But in the midst of a night season, I remember reading the book of Job. And Job is not normally a book that you read to be cheered up. It's one of those books that, when you're depressed, you read Job, unless you get to the end. But in the middle of it, I remember seeing Job, who went from riches to rags and from rags to riches again. And in the midst of his situation, he didn't know the end of the book like we now know the end of the book. God restored him. He gave him 10 more kids. He had lost his first 10. God restored his wealth. He restored his health. He restored his reputation. But in the midst of his night season is where Job began to hope against hope. And he didn't know the answer yet. But he began to declare, I know. Like, I don't know a lot of stuff, but I do know that my Redeemer lives. And in the last day, he's going to stand upon the earth. And Job said, and though my body be destroyed and my flesh, I'm going to see God. And so after reading this, I thought, if Job can hope against hope, in the midst of his heartache, in the midst of his heartbreak, in the midst of his body breaking down, his relationship had gone sideways. His wife, matter of fact, told him to curse God and die. She said, even your very breath is offensive to me. So either he needed a tic-tac or she was tired of him. But either way, everything was going sideways. And I thought, if Job can declare the truth in the midst of his night season, how much more can I? And so that afternoon, I picked up my little guitar and I began to strum a sacrifice of praise. And it was as if I was God's secretary and I was just taking notes. And before I knew it, it was just coming out and I began to sing. And I remember taking this very little song, this song that was just my comfort song. I didn't know God would use it and he would multiply it like the loaves and the fish. I had no clue. It was just my comfort song that I would now sing to God in the place of my greatest pain, and that was on my bed. And I would sing it to him, and I would offer it up to him. And then before I knew it, he would allow that same song that he would use to heal, comfort, and redeem me to minister to other people. So y'all, my champion is not a status. I don't want you to think that a marital status is the apex of your life. Christ is. Christ is. Christ is. And so you said something last night, Winnie, you said something about, and I'm going to be quiet because I know I'm giving you a long answer to a short question.
No, it's okay.
But you said something about how there are many husbands, but very few bridegrooms. And how your husband he's been a great groom to you as a bride. You said something to that effect. And I think that's what we have a shortage of as well. And that's a whole nother other topic. I know you're not asking me that yet, but it pierced my heart. And I can say truly that in all the ups and downs that I've gone through, Christ has been my bridegroom.
Amen.
Christ has been my bridegroom. And so that was really profound. And so I may have to borrow it. I'll give you a little bit of credit though.
Thank you so much. Good answer. Okay, thank you. So the next question is to Pastor Bimbo. So the question really is, for married couples, how do you draw the line between where, I'm trying to see how best to ask this question. So like you are told to bear some suffering, no marriage is perfect, every marriage has conflict, every marriage has trouble. Why don't you just bear it? Because in your old age, you're going to enjoy some benefits. Like you won't be alone, you will have company, both of you will be, like sometimes my husband and I these days, when we come out, we dress and look young. But when we're in the bedroom sometimes, they say, oh, bele, means sorry. It's like we're behaving like old people. Sometimes I need to tap myself, come on, you're not that old. So that's what we do in private, right? But at least there are two of us, we do those things together. So where do you draw the line? Because, sorry, this question is now, the other question was short. This one is going to be long. So maybe she'll give a short answer to this one. The question is very long. I asked this question because just very recently, I saw a couple that I had known this lady before she got married. Against her friend's advice, she married a non-believer. But this non-believer was comfortable, had a great job and all that. She cut off her friends. She stopped talking to her friends. She got married to this man. So after she got married to this man, shortly after the man actually gave his life to Christ, he got into the church and he actually became a minister in church. But then, don't say the hallelujah yet. It's a long question. Just wait and listen. So, this man was extremely abusive. Even as a minister, he would hit her. And she was also a minister. She would wear the dark glasses and all this stuff and go out. And she suffered a lot. But you see, I saw this couple recently. Now they are all grown. They've been married for like over 30 years. Their children are all adults, getting married. Both of them looked happy together, although some people say it's not how people look in public that determines whether they are happy. Actually. But I felt that maybe, I don't know, maybe they were happy together and all that. So I was just wondering that, how do you draw the line? Because what if she had been killed? You won't even live up to that. Maybe I'm answering myself. Okay. So over to you, Pastor Beams. Where do you draw the line to, okay, let me bear the pain now, we will enjoy later in the future, or let me run for my life and start a new life with a new man or something? How do you determine,
So Pastor Toun, I see that, I can see that this is a topic that you are very passionate about.
Yes, ma'am.
So I noticed yesterday that everybody started with introducing their husband, and I forgot to do that.
I was thinking of that. I said, Pastor Beef must have felt bad because Pastor Willie did it. I did it. She was the only one who didn't do it.
I was too excited just to get into the message. So I've been married for 27 years. And very passionate about marriage ministry. Actually, I started ministering in the area of relationships even before I got married. In my previous church when I was single, I was head of singles ministry. And so I started hearing a lot about marriage and relationship issues even when I was single. And I think I just carried that burden into my ministry as a pastor's wife. And I remember from like the first year of my marriage, people coming with, I remember a lady who'd been married about 10 years coming to me and saying she had problems in her marriage, her husband was cheating, and could I help her? And I was thinking, lady, you should be counseling me. I'm the one that's newly married here, but because I was a pastor's wife, people immediately assumed that I would have the resources to help them. So I thought, okay, I better get serious with this. I did a lot of counseling training to the point that I became a family systems practitioner. Over probably 27 to 30 years that I've been dealing with relationships, I've heard amazing stories and I've heard heartbreaking stories. And I think the first thing I would say for those who are single here is the foundation of your marriage starts in your single years.
Yes.
The Bible says if the foundations are broken, what can the righteous do? So a lot of these top stories that we hear on the other side is because due diligence wasn't done.
Yeah.
Right? Before I became, I got into ministry, I trained as a lawyer. And so before you buy a property, before you buy a house, there are some checks that you do.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm amazed how many Christians do not even do basic fact finding.
True.
They don't even do the work of, hey, who is this person? What's their family background? What's their relationship history?
Yes.
You don't do that due diligence. And then you don't pray about the person because, there are things that, when we're dating, we all put our best foot forward, right? But there are things that you can pick up about a person spiritually. The person looks perfect, they speak all the Christian lingo, but the Holy Spirit will tell you this guy is a fraud.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
Okay? So a lot of, and I wrote a book called Relate, The Unwritten Rules of Dating and Relating, and I wrote it because I feel that a lot of singles don't know about the purpose of the single season. And if you don't know about what that season is for, you will misuse it and you will not have the right foundation for your marriage. So I would say a lot of the problem is in the single season. Do the due diligence to make the right choices so you are not weeping on the other side. A lot of times the issues are already there when people are dating, but they're desperate to get married. They might feel, okay, I've come to a certain time in my life, I need to get married, or they've been having sex, somebody gets pregnant. So there are lots of reasons why people rush to the altar. Okay? But do your due diligence before you get married, and half of the problem is sorted. Now, let's say you get into marriage, and you find out, or you bought the act, and on the other side you find out, you got a raw deal. You've got to go to God and find out whether or not this is something that God's hand is on. Does that make sense? There are some, we're all married. Pastor Toun, you said you've been married 30 years. We know that there's no human being that's perfect, right? There are always going to be areas where you need to work on in a marriage. It might be communication, it might be somebody, is hardworking, somebody is a little bit laid back, you have those differences. But when it comes to the issue of abuse, where your life is on the line, or your your self-respect is degraded to a point that you don't know who you are. You cannot function in the fullness of who God has called you to be. Then that is a marriage that you need to, I'm always a little bit hesitant because sometimes people are looking for you to give
a license.
a license. So I would always say, speak to a pastor, make sure that you get counseling, but there are some relationships where the wisest thing to do is for you to exit. So I worked with a couple where this lady was actually locked in her house. She didn't have a key to her house.
He locked her in.
Yeah.
Oh.
So she couldn't go out. Like, he would take her out, he would bring her back. She didn't have a key to her own house. That was the extent of control, in the marriage. So literally we had to stage an exit because, it was abuse on so many, many different levels. And, she couldn't come to church. It just became huge. And to see her now thriving, doing well, smiling. Some people have not, genuine joy from their heart is something that has been blocked for many years. Every day is a drudgery. So when life is like that, where every day is a struggle, you need to get help. If your life is threatened, your physical safety or your mental well-being, if you're 30 and you're on high blood pressure pills, I've also seen that, right? You need to get help. Don't suffer alone. There is help.
Pills as a result of the marriage.
Yeah, which then brings on psychosis. You start hearing voices, all sorts of strange things. Don't struggle alone. Get help. There's help available. And sometimes the answer is you got to leave.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.